So what we wanted to try and do today in terms of the plan was Andy's going to share some thought leadership on his what he calls the systemic trap. And then we've invited two panelists, Mick Spiers from Siemens in Australia and Andreas Keiger from the WIKA group.
So if we talk about the systemic trap, it's important to understand that the current prevailing approach to transformation is a systemic approach. And this is prevalent in applied practice, current academic doctrine, the approach of consulting companies, and so on. And we have always these 5 steps in a sequence you can see here. After analyzing the situation and defining the vision for the transformation results, if there is a need of a change, the structures of the organization is redefined and the changes are applied first. And after that, all are forced to change the processes. For example, new IT solutions, reporting lines, or business models. And then people are expected to change their behavior and working routines to follow the aim of the newly applied systems and processes. I would say wrong is that current studies tell us that 70% and more of all transformation initiatives in organizations are failing. If you transform with this systemic approach, people in the organization interpret and use the new systems and processes with their existing mindset. And when this leads to a lack of execution or results that are not within the goals, people and managers blame the quality of the newly defined systems and processes. The leaders react naturally by addressing the systemic topics with, for example, more reporting, more process trainings, reworking the processes, etc., etc. And we call it, they are caught in the systemic trap. And the way out is to focus on the real reason and not just on these systemic symptoms. The announcement of a change causes an emotional reaction in people. And these reactions can be mapped to, we call it emotional zones. So it starts with the comfort zone. In the comfort zone, people are doing business as usual, they do their routine work. Above this, there is the so-called productive zone. For example, if you are coming home with a sense of progress and achievement, this leads to satisfaction for a job well done. People are sometimes in the stretch zone. This is a zone where it is challenging, but still within the realms of the possible. It is an opportunity to develop. Above this, there is the panic zone. And here, fears and concerns take over and begin to cause blockages. And therefore, there is another one, which is called the rejection zone. And here, people try to deal with fears and concerns. This leads to different avoidance strategies like evasion and up to sabotage sometimes. People in organizations are prepared to accept change and actively contribute to it when they are kept in a so-called execution band. This means they are kept within the emotional zones, the productive and the stretch zone. Such leaders focus on developing the mindset and skill sets for transformation readiness, so we call it, in anticipation of keeping the people out of the panic or comfort zone.
In Siemens, when I landed there about 8 months ago, what I walked into was an organization that has incredibly talented people, a wonderful product set, but had gotten in their own way, Pete, is what I could say. So customer relationships were suffering. There was siloed behaviors between departments and very inefficient ways of doing resource forecasting, right? So 3 very systemic issues in the business, but stuck in a loop, and I wouldn't have used that term until I heard Andreas say it, stuck in a loop of this is the way that we've always done it, but knowing that it could be done better. So you had a bunch of people that wanted to do things better, but felt that they were a little bit stuck in their ways and didn't know how to go about changing it. And something I'm going to bring up as we go through, Pete, didn't feel empowered that they could change it because of the structure of the company. because it is such a large multinational company, it's a safety critical industry, they didn't feel like they could make the changes that they wanted to make.
When I came to WIKA in January 2020, we started, after 3 months of interviews, to ask the colleagues, the leadership team, what do you have to do? What is their next step? What we would like to solve? And the team started with, I think it was a number of 20 proposals. Team decided, that was very important, the team decided what should be done first. We created a landscape strategy to look how to do first. We discussed and come to the point of readiness, and that was an interesting point, how to take the team, the wider team, all the colleagues on board within the organization. And before we made the onboarding of the rest of the team, a good language training on the management level, how to do an onboarding. I will not say how to convince people, really how to listen. This is 2 ears and 1 mouth. And then the team developed themselves over a period now, and this readiness took us, I think, approximately a year. The biggest thing what was given was the question of willingness to change. Having the trust in mind that people knows it's a teamwork. And then on the next step, and that was really a deep dive, how to find all levels of management up to, I don't want to call them the lonely soldier in our teams, to convince them, to take them really on board and understand the whys, but what was more important, to talk about the limited beliefs.